Okay, we are recording. We're on Facebook, so let's get started. Thanks everyone for joining, either on Zoom or on Facebook. My name is Krista Gervon. I'm the Communications Director at Princeton Integrative Health, and I'm joined with Dr. Vinny, who's our Clinical Director at Princeton Integrative Health. This is the InVINcible Health Series. We do a different topic every week, but this week we're doing Brain Health Part 2. So if you didn't catch last week, we have that on our Facebook page as well. We went over how stress affects our brain health, and this week we'll be discussing how diet and nutrition affect our brain health. So let's get started right away. Let's just take it from the top and discuss which foods are the best to promote brain health, Dr. Vinny.
So the best foods, there are actually many of them. They fall into some broad classes, obviously. Things like good fats are wonderful things. Avocado, olive oil, nuts, seeds. Those things are all wonderful food for the brain. Other things that are great for the brain are, plants. Plants have what we call phytonutrients, plant nutrients. Many of those are wonderful for the brain. They're antioxidant, they're anti-inflammatory. They really help provide nutrients that are important for brain function. Proteins, you need protein. Should be good protein. Some people like to eat red meat. We try to keep that at a minimum, but if you're going to eat that, I would say organic, grass-fed, that kind of thing, rather than those grain-fed animals. It's important to, get good quality.
Mm-hmm.
And, I don't know, I used to hear when I was younger, fish is brain food. And in a sense it is. It has a lot of those omega-3 fatty acids that aren't in as high, those are the highest concentration of omega-3 fatty acids that we can get are in fish. And those are very important for the brain. They provide a lot of energy for the brain. They provide a lot of nutrients. They're anti-inflammatory. So, getting those omega-3s in is very important.
Yeah, I know as a mom, we're told to, while we're pregnant, take DHA or fish oil during our pregnancy, especially in the early months, because it helps with the brain development of the baby too.
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely. And I do, if people feel they won't or can't eat enough fish, I definitely ask them to supplement with some fish oil for the DHA and EPA.
Yeah.
And the things you should avoid are things with carbs and sugar. Those sugary desserts, that delicious bread. If you're going to eat that kind of stuff, it should be whole grains, but it should be at a minimum, because that just there's a lot of insulin resistance here in America. We eat too much sugar. A lot of people eat too much sugar and carbs, and when you do that and you have insulin resistance, you can't use carbs and sugar for energy so well, and that leads to a deficit of energy in your brain. And your brain loves energy. Needs a lot of energy.
It's a bummer.
It's not from sugar and carbs.
Really do enjoy their carbs, pasta, bread, and sweets, but gotta keep our brain healthy. You mentioned supplementation if people don't like fish. Are there any other supplements that we could be taking to, prevent cognitive decline or promote brain health?
Sure. There are at least a few. I mean, some people need more depending on the state of their health and everything, but I would say that we all should make sure we're getting adequate vitamin D. And living here in the Northeast of the United States, it's hard to get enough sunshine.
Right.
Especially this time of year. Get adequate vitamin D. I mean, during the summer, if you're outside a lot, you might be making adequate vitamin D. But this time of year, I don't think there's anybody around here that's making adequate vitamin D. So vitamin D, considered one of those important supplements. For people who were around when I did the coronavirus talk, vitamin D also makes us more resistant to coronavirus. And if we get it, makes us more resilient and less likely to get severe complications from coronavirus. So vitamin D is very important.
Okay. Yeah.
And you can have your doctor check your levels. That's an important thing if you're unsure whether you should be taking vitamin D. So vitamin D, we already mentioned fish oil. There are other things depending on, again, on the state of people's health. I often take some curcumin. It's a great anti-inflammatory, antioxidant. Some people prefer to cook with turmeric in their foods. That's another great way to get that very important spice. And again, very patient specific, very patient dependent. Some people will take things that are specifically for the brain, things like Bacopa or Gotu Cola, things that are specifically help nerve cells grow. So,
is that something that maybe would be on an individual basis, or could that be something that anyone interested in just improving brain health could take?
Yeah, I think those are, everything I've mentioned so far, I think people could take those without any downsides. And there are many companies that put brain health supplements, they kind of package them up into one, capsule. There might be, 4, 5, 6, 8 different nutrients in one capsule. So some people find that a convenient way to do it.
That's good. So basically, it sounds like a well-balanced diet, not too heavy on carbs or sugar, is a great way to keep our brains healthy and keep our bodies healthy in general. But is there any type of eating schedule that could even help a little bit more? Intermittent fasting is been talked about a lot, in the media lately. Is that anything that can help us with our brain health as well?
Yes, intermittent fasting we feel is actually very important.
Okay.
And the reason for that is that when we eat, it takes a while to process our foods and that kind of thing. And if we take in too much over a certain period of time, the body can't process, can't burn all that. So what does it do? It starts storing it in our organs. The major organ that it can store in is the liver, but it can store in heart, eyes, even the brain. And if we don't fast, so the body stores it, and when we fast, the body then pulls it out of those organs and uses it for energy. When the body stores it, it actually turns it into fats, because sugar is actually toxic to cells. So it turns it into fat for storage. Mm-hmm. And if we manage to kind of burn all the fat that we've accumulated during the day by fasting, by using that for energy before we take the next meal, then it kind of keeps our organs cleaned out. Otherwise, if we don't fast and we have too much sugar and carbs and turn into fat, people start developing things like fatty liver. You can get fat around your heart. You can get fat in your brain. Things don't function as well.
Yeah.
Because of that. So, so the intermittent fasting. So we recommend usually 12 hours overnight.
Okay.
And don't eat for 3 hours before you go to bed.
Okay.
And that's usually adequate time. Some people with a specific genetic makeup called ApoE4, which I happen to have, which is a very inflammatory type of makeup and very sensitive to the inflammatory effects of carbohydrates. It's actually recommended that we fast for up to 16 hours.
Wow.
But you would have to have that testing done, mm-hmm. Or, some people have the 23andMe, so they could look on that, see if they have, there's 3 different types of ApoE, ApoE2, 3 or 4. If you have ApoE2 or 3, you're fine. If you have even one copy of ApoE4, you should probably extend your fasting to 14 to 16 hours.
Okay. I
If
did
you have 2 copies, you should be doing 16 hours. At least some of the
23andMe, so I will be sure to check that out on my little
Okay.
profile. Okay, so that's really good information to know. Is there anything else, around diet nutrition that you think might be helpful before we open it up to questions from Facebook or friends?
Well, let's see. So we talked about fasting. Yeah, I just want to reemphasize again that our diet should be primarily plant-based.
Right.
That really is the healthiest diet. Should be mostly non-starchy vegetables with some starchy vegetables. But I try to tell people, eat the colors of the rainbow, because each different color is a different phytonutrient that your body needs.
Yeah.
And some people who do it, they'll do that seasonally. Whatever's coming into season at that time, eating apples in the fall and that kind of thing. A little bit different in this world now, where we can have access to anything at any time of the year.
Right. Michael Pollan had a good quote in the beginning of one of his books, and it was just eat food, not too much, mostly plants.
Yes.
I think that's such a simple, easy way to remember, how we should kind of design our diet. But
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's great advice. I don't remember. It wasn't Michael Pollan who said that. Somebody else.
Oh, it must have just been in his book, but that was
right.
like
Yeah.
page.
Yeah. And another author, and this one I'm pretty sure was David Perlmutter. A title of one of his books is "America Knowing What to Eat, Refusing to Swallow It." So.
Yes, that is a good one. All right, let me go check out Facebook to see if we have any questions. Oops, sorry. And excuse my kids in the background if you can hear them. And Colleen, please feel free to unmute yourself if you have any questions as well.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's great advice. I don't remember. It wasn't Michael Pollan who said that. Somebody else.
Oh, it must have just been. Unmute yourself if you have any questions as well. No questions on Facebook. So, Colleen, unless you have any questions, we can.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's great advice. I don't remember. It wasn't Michael Pollan who said that. Somebody else. Oh, it must have just been. Unmute yourself if you have any questions as well. I'm getting the feedback from Facebook. Sorry about that. So I wondered what that was.
Yeah, I was going to the Facebook and then it was coming out of that video. Sorry about
that. I'm like, how is she doing that?
It was very confusing for me too. The joys of virtual meetings and different outlets.
Right. Yeah. Oh, one other thing I did want to mention, actually.
Sure.
If somebody has a lower body weight, a body mass index of like 20 or below, they should be cautious with fasting, low carb diets, that they don't lose too much weight.
Okay.
That can happen if people switch over to a low carb, primarily plant-based diet. And there are other ways that you can do this if that's what's going on with people. You can use some, because what you're trying to do with this actually is you're trying to get into a little bit of ketosis, where you have ketone bodies. You're using those for energy instead of glucose, the sugar. And that's actually a healthier fuel for your brain. So, but if you have a low body mass index, you can start losing too much weight. So the way that would get around that is by supplementing actually with some short chain fatty acids that turn quickly into ketones and that kind of thing. So they don't have to do such a restrictive something that'll actually make them lose weight. So
great, thanks.
Forgot to mention that earlier.
Yeah. Thanks for including that. Okay, well, I think we are.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Intermittent fasting.
Yes.
I'm kind of religious about it, and I love it because it saves time, it saves money, it saves everything, and I do it pretty much every day for pretty long, like up to 20 hours or 21. but I've been hearing, and I don't like what I hear, so I don't want to listen to it. But I'm hearing that you shouldn't do the same thing every day. That you should, like that. I forget. Is it? I can't think of his name. The guy who says the fake fasting, 2-5, and all. Like you mix it up. Longer. Can't think of the guy.
Walter Longo?
Yeah. He's got that, it's not fake fasting, it's
fasting mimicking diet.
Anyway, the point being that not to do it for every single day the same. Do you have any opinion on that?
I'm not sure what he means. Do you mean not to fast for the same number of hours,
Yeah,
or not to eat the same foods?
No, the same number of hours. Like to do 21 hours a day, 7 days a week is not a good idea. And I do that, and I don't lose weight. I, make sure to eat lots of good fat. So I'm trying to weight.
I hadn't heard that. I guess I'll have to look
Good.
at the research
Okay,
on that. My gut feeling, if you will, is that, some people fast for, right around that 24-hour mark. And a lot of those people are pretty healthy. So I think it's more important for me, in my mind, it's more important to vary what you're eating, so you're getting all the nutrients versus, the fact that you might be doing 21 hours every day. Are you feeling hungry before then?
No, I feel fabulous. And if I was eating 3 meals a day or even 2 meals a day, I would be getting hungry. Every time you eat, you're going to get hungry.
Mm-hmm.
So this way I only get hungry once, right before I eat.
Yeah. I mean, I have talked to people and read online that people who fast closer to that, 20 to 24-hour mark, they feel better about it and actually are able to maintain the fast better than people who are used to eating at 12 to 16 hours.
Right, that afternoon doldrums and all that. That just doesn't. Or eat breakfast and then be ravenous for lunch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, that totally used to be me before I ever got into this. I'd eat, before I headed off to the ER to work a 12-hour shift, I'd eat like breakfast at like 6:30, have my mid-morning snack at 10, lunch 11:30 or 12. I'd have my mid-afternoon snack. I'd have dinner around 5, and then I'd snack in the car. And I lived an hour away from the ER, so I'd like snack on the way home. And crazy. I can't even imagine that now.
We've evolved.
I've evolved, yes.
Well, thank you very much.
All right, Colleen, thank you. Thank you for being here.
Have a good night.
You too.
No questions on Facebook, but Elena did want to thank you for the session, and it was very informative. So hopefully everyone got a lot out of that. And otherwise, next week will be Brain Health Part 3.
Yes.
All right.
Yes, we'll be talking about exercise. And activity.
So that'll be fun. Okay. Well, thank you everyone for joining us. We'll be here next week at 4:30 to talk about exercise as it relates to brain health. Have a great week, everybody. Bye, Dr. Vinny.
Bye, Krista.
Thanks.